welcome to a tutorial video working our way through algebra and linear equations. This particular video we're going to learn about point-slope form and what that is when we're working with linear equations. So point-slope form is just another way to write linear equations. Let me write it out here for you. So it comes in the form y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And there's some new symbols and some things we haven't seen before as we've been working our way through linear equations and graphs and tables and all that good stuff. So let's kind of break down what this all means. So we still have an equation. It's a linear equation, so I'm still relating x is my independent variable, right? I'm relating two things that are happening. So I have an independent variable that as that changes, we see what happens to my dependent variable. It's a relationship. What happens when I change x? How does that affect y? So we use equations to model all sorts of things. So I still have that going on there. Still have an x, still have a y variable. But notice there's some other x's and y's going on. Let's break down what those are. This x1 is a specific x value from a point. We call this point-slope form because I have to know a specific point that the line goes through. Other forms we've done, slope-intercept form, we use the slope and then the y-intercept to write an equation. This just uses a different point besides the y-intercept. So we use any point. We could use the y-intercept if we wanted to, but if I'm just given a specific point, I can write any equation with that. So there we go. We have a specific x value from my point, and we have a specific y value. Okay. What else do we have here? Notice they're being subtracted. So we're getting into kind of some vertical shifts. As we take a specific x value, it moves it right or left, all that good stuff. The last thing we got going on here is we have our value for m. We know what m is. That's just the slope. So you can see, knowing m and knowing my point, we call it point-slope form. All right, not too tricky, right? Let's get an example here and just play with some numbers and see how we can interpret this. So what if I gave you, here's an equation in point-slope form. We have y plus 7 equals 3/4 times x minus 5. And we're asked to find, okay, this is in point-slope form. Can we determine what is the point being used to write that equation, and can we tell what the slope is? All right, so the point is going to be found by looking at this value for y1, what is being subtracted. I'm going to use that 7, I'm going to use this 5 to write a value for a point. Since I have y plus 7, and the original equation, or the point-slope form, includes y minus y1, notice how our signs change. Instead of subtraction, I got an addition sign going on. So what that means is we actually really have y minus -7. Notice how we have a subtraction of a negative turns into a positive. So when you see a standard form or a point-slope form or some equation like that, and we have a subtraction that was changed into addition, it means my y value, the specific y value, y1, is actually -7. Even though there's a plus 7 in here, it's the opposite of that subtraction sign. Okay, the value for x1 of my specific point, notice I have x minus x1, I have x minus 5, so I know the x value is 5. So the coordinates of my point then must be an x value of 5 and a y value of -7. That's the point that I know my line has to go through. All right, the only other thing then is to determine, well, what is the slope? So the slope is my value for m, so we look in front of the parentheses there. 3/4, my slope is 3/4. So it's got a positive slope, it's increasing, it increases 3 in my y values every time I change 4 in my x values. Okay, hopefully that's a good introduction to point-slope form for you. I have some other videos following this, digging more into setting up point-slope form equations and writing point-slope form equations. But this is a good start. That's how we work with it. And it's a great form for writing equations.